It was a quiet afternoon 4 years ago, just like any other. I was 19, home alone, with the warm sunlight filtering lazily through the curtains. Time moved slowly in that sleepy house, the kind of slow that invites calm and daydreams. But that afternoon, everything changed. At almost 3 o'clock, a sudden, sharp knock shattered the silence. It wasn't loud or forceful, but it echoed oddly against the walls, a sound so out of place it made me freeze. I hesitated before walking to the door, a strange feeling curling in my stomach, part curiosity, part unease. When I opened it, I saw him. An old man sat slumped against the brick wall beside the porch. His clothes hung loosely, faded and threadbare, and his face was pale, marked by the slow erosion of time. In one frail hand he held a mobile phone, a strange contrast to his weathered appearance. "I'm your neighbor," he rasped, voice cracking like brittle paper. "The one who worked so hard. Could you get me some water? Or maybe a chocolate bar?" I blinked. The words sounded desperate, almost childlike. Compassion nudged my hesitation aside. "Wait here," I said, grabbing a glass and some water from the kitchen. When I handed it to him, his eyes, empty yet searching, met mine. "You're kind," he murmured, "but I brought evil with me. I thought I'd take you with me." The words sent a chill spiraling down my spine. I wanted to ask more, but before I could, he asked for help to get back inside his house. I supported him as we walked the quiet street. The sky was already dimming, shadows stretching like fingers across the pavement. At his door, he found his key and slipped inside without a word. Curiosity pulled me forward. On the door was a faded paper, black letters spelling a death notice, with his photo staring back at me. My heart hammered so loud I thought he'd hear it. I ran home, locked every door, and sat shaking in the dark. For weeks the image haunted me. Was it a ghost, a warning, or something else? After that day, I couldn't stop thinking about the old man and the strange encounter. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his hollow eyes staring into mine, his words echoing in the silence. I brought evil with me. Days passed, then weeks. The fear settled deep in my bones, but curiosity gnawed at me stronger than ever. I needed to know more. Who was he? Why did he come to me? One afternoon, I finally worked up the courage to visit the neighborhood. I walked slowly, my footsteps light on the cracked pavement as I approached the old man's house. It stood silent and empty, the windows dark like watchful eyes. I knocked on the door, my heart pounding. No answer. Just then, a woman from next door noticed me and came over. "Does someone live here?" I asked softly. She looked at the house, her eyes narrowing. "That was Mr. Ellis's place. He passed away 2 months ago at his house. No one's lived here since." Her words felt like a cold gust, confirming the impossible. "But I saw him, the day I was home alone. He asked for help." The woman shook her head, lips pressed tight. Sometimes the past doesn't rest easy. That night, as I lay in bed, I couldn't escape the feeling that something unseen was watching me, waiting. The house, the man, his cryptic words. It was like a thread pulling me deeper into a secret I wasn't ready to face. And then I began to hear whispers, soft, faint at first, like the rustling of leaves outside my window. But they grew clearer, more urgent. Whispers of sorrow, regret, and something darker. I was no longer alone. The whispers haunted my nights. Sometimes they felt like voices just beyond the walls, voices begging to be heard. I couldn't tell if they were real or my mind unraveling, but I knew I had to find out more. I started asking around the neighborhood, piecing together what I could about Mr. Ellis. The more I learned, the darker the story became. Mr. Ellis had once been a respected man, a hard-working father and husband, but tragedy had struck years before. His wife had died suddenly, and after that, he changed. Neighbors spoke in hushed tones about his growing bitterness, his withdrawn nature, and the strange happenings at his house. Lights flickered late at night, shadows moved where no one should be. One night, a fire had broken out in the kitchen. Luckily, no one was hurt, but the damage was severe. Mr. Ellis never spoke about it, but after that, he was rarely seen outside. Some said he was haunted by guilt, that he had lost more than just his wife. Others whispered of secrets buried deep in the walls of his old home. Driven by a mixture of fear and determination, I decided to visit the house again, this time with a flashlight in hand, ready to face whatever waited inside. As I stepped through the door, the air turned cold, thick with the scent of dust and something metallic. My light swept over peeling wallpaper and broken furniture. Then I heard it, a soft thud from the floor above. I climbed the creaking stairs, each step louder than the last. At the end of the hall, a door stood slightly ajar. Pushing it open, I found a small room, a study, perhaps. Papers were scattered across the desk, yellowed with age. But what caught my eye was an old photo pinned to the wall, a family portrait. Mr. Ellis stood in the middle, smiling, but behind him, barely visible, was a shadowy figure. Suddenly, a cold breeze swept through the room, and the whispers returned, clearer now, desperate. "I didn't mean to bring you pain." My breath caught. Was this Mr. Ellis, or something else? I knew then I had to uncover the truth, no matter how dark it was. I stood frozen in the study, the whispers swirling around me like a chilling wind. My eyes darted to the scattered papers on the desk. Picking one up carefully, I saw it was a letter, old, faded, but still legible. It was addressed to someone named Lydia, the name scribbled in hurried handwriting. The letter spoke of regret, sorrow, and a terrible mistake. Mr. Ellis had written it in the days after the fire, confessing something he had hidden for years, a secret that haunted him every day. It seemed the fire wasn't an accident. It was a desperate attempt to cover up a tragedy that had shattered his family. Lydia was his wife's sister, who had lived with them for a time. The letter hinted at a fight, a loss of control, and an accident that had changed everything. My heart pounded. Could this be why his spirit lingered? Was he begging for forgiveness, or warning me not to dig too deep? Suddenly, the room grew icy cold. The shadows lengthened and twisted on the walls. I felt a presence behind me, a whisper brushing my ear. "Find my sister and tell her I was killed." I spun around, but there was no one, only the fading echo of that voice. I knew then this wasn't just about the old man's story. There was someone else, someone connected to the past waiting to be found. I had to uncover the truth for them both. The next morning I set out with the letter clutched tightly in my hand. Lydia, who her sister? Was she still alive? I had to find out. I went to the local library and began digging through public records, old newspapers, anything that might lead me to her. Hours passed, and just when I was about to give up, I found a small notice buried in an old paper from 20 years ago. Lydia's sister had moved to a town a few hours away, and there was a mention of a small art gallery she ran. Hope flickered inside me. I took the bus to that town, my heart pounding with anticipation and unease. When I arrived, the gallery was quaint but inviting, with paintings of landscapes and portraits filling the windows. I stepped inside. A woman greeted me, gentle eyes, lined with age and kindness. "Are you Lydia's sister?" I asked hesitantly. She nodded and said, "Yes, I am. I want to talk about Lydia and the truth behind her death," a faint sadness in her smile. We talked for hours. She told me about the family tragedy, the fire, and I gave her the letter, the guilt that had followed Mr. Ellis for decades. But most of all, she warned me to be careful. Some secrets, she said, can trap souls, both living and dead. As I left the gallery, the sun setting behind me, I felt the weight of the past pressing down, but also the fragile hope of healing.